All right, guys. Welcome. Let me know, guys, down in the comment section if you guys can hear and see me. Okay. I want to make sure the audio is good and that video is good. So if you guys can give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear and see me. Okay. Let's see here. How are we on the audio and visual, guys? I know Hez is in here. Appreciate you guys. We got Kyler on the audio and visual, guys. I know Hez. There's mine. There we go. Okay, the one and only says we're good. All right, guys. We got Kyler. We got Jared. We got Hez. A couple others in here, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. We got Tyrone. We got Nick Bearden with Nick with a beard on here, and then Scent Nick. We got Tyrone from Bro Scent. How you guys doing, guys? Let me know down in the comment section. What is your scent of the day? What is your scent of the day? So mine, to kind of start out the day, I did a little cocktail. I went with rosé at first during the day, and then I just got this bad boy in here. Yes, I finally got the Black Rose. So I'm currently sporting that on this hand, but let me know what your guys' scent of the day is. So Jules by Dior, that's awesome. We got oh my bad. Hang on, let me text someone here real quick here. Make sure he's good. Let me do something here real quick. Okay. So I'm going to bring him on real quick. Okay, so we got Mr. Justin in the house. Give me one quick. I think there was a misunderstanding on something. Okay. Sorry, guys. Getting stuff finalized. Okay. All right. So, guys, we got Jules by Dior. We got Hez wanted to reach out to you. Scent of the day is Baby Cat. Okay. Anybody else? No. Okay. Well, guys, without any further ado, I am going to bring on the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Mr. Justin Copeland. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me, man. I really, really appreciate this.
Oh, thanks for having me. And nice shirt. We're kind of almost matching.
Yeah, we didn't plan that, guys. I promise. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's still pretty cold where I'm at, but it's not exactly freezing. So long shirt material, but nothing too crazy. So
yeah, man. And you usually work outside, right?
So yeah, for the past few years, I have been. I owned my own painting business, and now we're kind of going in a different direction. But
Okay.
yeah, so used to the elements, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet, especially out where you're at in the Midwest. I know how
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it was a little bit ago I was messaging you, and you said you used to live in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
in Chicago for almost 10 years.
Okay. Nice, nice. So you're definitely used to the brisk cold, huh?
I don't know if I would say used to it, but I know it well.
Yeah. I know
Yeah,
how that
man.
I know how that goes.
But
Yeah, here. Oh, sorry.
but
Go
no,
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it was good to see everyone in the chat.
Yeah, we got a
S-
good crew so far.
yeah, I
Let's
see
see. So we
Kyler
got,
showed up. Everybody's saying, "Hey, Kyler."
mhm. We got Kyler. We got Bro Sense. We got Josh. Let's see. Ray. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. do appreciate that again. Thank Justin. So, as you guys might be wondering, other than just having Justin on here because he is an amazing guy, why I chose Justin for this particular topic, and I think Justin might know, but in case he doesn't even know, Justin is actually the one that led me to Zaharoff. So I've watched Justin for, man, close to 5 years, if not maybe a little bit more, and seen him really grow and, just be established as a channel. And he was the first person that I know of that talked about Zaharoff and got me introduced to it. So I thought, man, what better person to bring on than the guy who introduced me to the house. So, man, what an honor, actually.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I didn't, you did tell me that in messages, but before you said that, I didn't know that was the case. So that's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was your top 10. What was it? It was the top 10 most professional scents or fragrances, something like that. You did back in like 2018 or 19, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And you had the original Pour Homme. And I was like, man, I've watched you for a couple of years now, and I trust your taste. And you and a couple others actually kind of paved the way for me breaking out of the, just, I don't want to say generic, but just the more mainstream, Aqua de Jo, Mont Blancs, stuff like that. So you actually really helped inspire me to kind of go, in that direction of being okay with more like barbershop fougere style fragrances, because I think you're a little bit older than me, if I'm not mistaken. But in that same age bracket. And I was like, well, if he can rock this, then I'm going to give it a shot. And man, it's been one of my favorite genres ever since. So
yeah, I mean, it's one I had to grow into myself. And, this whole thing we do it's a continuum. So you're talking about me talking about stuff that influenced you. The same thing happened to me. I was influenced by people that came before I did. Especially when we're talking about breaking out of the mainstream space, following like Steven from Red Essence, following Carlos from Brooklyn Fragrance Lover, Mark Robezoid, and a handful of other folks that came before I did. And so we all, we don't have the same journey, but there's a lot of similarities when it's all connected in this way, this continuum, which is, I think, how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's without knowing what a barbershop or a fougere, was, I had kind of gravitated towards that without knowing it, because I don't know if me and you've discussed this. I know me and Ross have, but one of my gateway fragrances was Drakkar Noir. So it kind of has that masculine, fougere quality about it, but not quite a barbershop. And so I, have always kind of gravitated towards that. But then I actually watched, I think it was your top 10 barbershop fragrances, years back. And I was like, okay, man, I really need to explore what this is. And then you're talking about Zaharoff, and it's kind of almost a blend, if you will, of a gentleman fougere, but yet at the same time, almost like, this not quite oriental, but just this spicy, woody, very unique kind of a fragrance. I was like, okay, what is this about? And so thus began the rabbit trail of Zaharoff.
Yeah. And what a just a platform he's built just from that fragrance. That was his re-entry into the market. And that was like maybe 2018 when this signature Pour Homme came out, and the fertile ground is created to see what's sprung out of that. And so much of what's came out of it has stayed true to the original, which is the coolest thing. I really do believe Zaharoff is one of the best brands when it comes to the idea of a flanker, at least in the way that I like to see flankers, and that they are tied to the identity of the original, but they have their own personality. So, there's nothing wrong with an EDT, EDP duality. Like that's a lot of the flankers we're getting nowadays. And, they're both great, but frankly, you don't need both, especially as collectors. But with Zaharoff, it's it's beautiful and dangerous at the same time, because there's so much variety and so much continuity. You can have all of them and you have no real redundancy among the collection. So it's cool. You just don't see that very often. A lot of people just kind of cut corners. All right, here's a parfum. Okay, here's an elixir. It's like, cool, great. Everyone is doing that, great. But Zaharoff is like, no, here's a new flanker. Here's a new personality. Here's something that's not like the last one. And it's like, thank you. You know?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I was having a conversation. I don't know if you follow him or heard of him. He's been in the game for a little bit, but my buddy Chris from the Fragtastic Mr. Fox, I don't know if that sounds familiar at all.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So me and him, we're good buddies and we talk pretty much every day. And we were discussing whenever the new, why can't I think of it? The Parfum from Acqua di Gio had came out. I was like, man, this is literally Profumo just tweaked a little bit in a different bottle. And it was really kind of discouraging a little bit. It's like, man, is this really what we're coming to? Is this what fragrances are going to be as a whole moving forward? And man, it's, there's some tweaks here and there, but even like you got the 1 million line, Royale just came out, and I love Royale. It's amazing, but still sticking with those similar DNAs and this, and it's not really branching off. But we'll get into this here in a second, guys. Be patient with us. But when you get into, like you were saying, Zaharoff, you can take Signature Porum and then go to Rosé, and you get similarities with some of the core DNA, but it's really its own fragrance, but it pays homage to the original, and that's what's so great about it.
Exactly, man. It's funny how you brought up like Acqua di Gio Parfum, which is just one example of many we've seen over the past several years. And I think what it really comes down to is a fundamental difference with a brand's focus.
Yeah.
Now, and I like to look at things black and white sometimes. And when I see this difference, I'm seeing the difference between giving and receiving. So a brand like Armani, obviously they're owned by L'Oreal, huge umbrella. We have all these big umbrellas in the industry. Their focus, if I'm going to be real, is receiving. They are putting out new fragrances as vehicles for more income. So they're trying to get from us. They're not actually trying to give us something we didn't have, something new, something of more value or even equal value. It's slight tweaks here and there. That's just the industry. That's how it works. For those who want to make a lot of money, you don't make big pivots if you want to make a lot of money. Whereas Zaharoff and other brands like that, their focus is giving. Zaharoff is trying to give us something new. Yes. Therefore, this is not going to be a mass market fragrance collection, because that doesn't appeal to the mass market. People don't want massive changes. They don't want unpredictability, so to speak. So, people get to pick and choose what speaks to them more. Most people I don't think really think about this when they're making a fragrance purchase, especially in the designer world. They're just like, oh, what smells good? And it's like, well, it's going to smell good. That's what they made it to do. There's no question of that. So it's like, if you have something that does it already, do you need the next one? Again, up to you to decide. But I don't know. I think about these things all the time. Like, what is the why of a brand? Why are they putting out a new fragrance? What is this all about? Those are the questions I like to ask.
No, that's good.
It's pretty obvious.
I mean, honestly, if even with Zaharoff, like one of the things he has to do to move forward is to make a profit. So there is this attribute that you want something that's going to be well received enough that people will love it and enjoy it and be able to wear it. But there is this level of difference between designer and niche, and that's why I've really gravitated towards a lot of the niche stuff, and especially indie niche, like Zaharoff, and because like what people probably know but don't really think about is, he's produced so many fragrances in the past, 4 or 5 years. They might picture this factory and, hundreds of workers and everything putting it together, but it's really not. It's a pretty, not super small, but small niche house that is putting out great quality. Whereas you do Acqua di Gio, let's say that they release this new Acqua di Gio Parfum Elixir Extreme times 10. You know what I mean? Just, that's going to be their next fragrance. If they lose, $2-3 million, yeah, they might care a little bit, but they're a multi-billion-dollar industry. If George were to lose something like that, that's, detrimental almost, and so whenever people, are just putting out these easy to go fragrances, they're not really interested in this small niche that we have here on YouTube, where you have, say, like Ross just hit, over 100,000 subs, really big deal in our industry, in our neck of the woods. But you go to someone like Logan Paul or Mr. Beast or something like that, they've got 22, 25, 100 million, subscribers that, they have a bigger platform. We're just a very small little niche. And so they're not going to try and appeal to Justin Copeland or Tyler Presley or whoever. And it's like, oh no, this fragrance channel that has under 3,000 subs doesn't like the new designer release. Whatever will we do?
Exactly.
They're going for that mainstream. So
totally.
Well, man, without going on too many rabbit trails, because I can definitely do that. I wanted to make a caveat. So I've got 5 Zaharoffs picked out, but I do have a couple of honorable mentions. And the reason I did this, and maybe you do too, I don't know, was because it's under the Zaharoff brand, but you probably know I'm talking about the Z Creators. It's composed by someone different. And so one of my favorite fragrances that I've worn, and you'll see the dent, is honestly, and I'm not sucking up or anything like that, is Second Soul. And you can see the dent.
Wow.
That I've put into this.
That is a dent, dude.
That is a dent. And so I have a backup bottle. I don't know if you remember that or not, but so I'll be doing that. But I might have to, I don't know, slow the roll a little bit on that. I mean,
well, man, I am honored. I'm utterly honored. I'm just glad you've had so much enjoyment from it to keep coming back to it.
Yeah, man, it's so good because it's really funny. I wore this over my buddy's. Wow, you do have that kind of smooth, just easy listening voice. So he's not lying.
Appreciate it.
But I wore this over to my buddy Nick's house when I went to do a video. And he said that it was just filling up the house. Like as I walked past him, he went upstairs to get something after I just come downstairs. And he was like, dude, I can still smell Second Soul all through the house. And it smells awesome. And so he actually wound up getting a bottle. And so, man, it really is. It's an amazing fragrance. And it would make this list, but it's not a complete Zaharoff composition. So that was one that I had. And then this one, the only reason why it's an honorable mention is just because I just got it today, but I have a feeling it's really going to mark up on the ranks. But it's actually what I'm wearing tonight, and it's the new Black Rose. So obviously way, way, way too early to tell, how it's going to do in longevity and, just, the life of the fragrance and what it's going to do. But I'm already really impressed. And so it's one of those flankers like you talk about. You get the DNA, you get similar attributes, but it really is kind of its own thing. So
totally.
Yeah, those are.
Man, I felt the same way. I was like, man, I want to put this in, but that's not fair. I need more time. But I've given it one full wearing, and it's great. It's beautiful.
So let me ask you a question on that real quick, if you don't mind. So I've talked with several different people, Josh, who's in the chat, Unaverage Joe, and a couple other people who I know the brand of Zaharoff pretty well. And upon initial opening, I get a lot of similarities to the original Royale X. I don't know if you get that. A lot of people are saying Pour Homme, a lot of people are saying Noir, but I get this beautiful musky citrus just right up off the top. And it's really similar, in my opinion, to the opening of Royale X, and I don't know if you get any similarities with that or
Interesting.
not.
You know, I did not get that similarity. I mean, now I can go looking for it next time, but I personally got a similarity to the Pour Homme Noir. Like
Mhm.
I get that slightly clean, almost soapy barbershop feel tucked away in there. But yeah, I'll go back and look for some musky citrus. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really so it's funny. Whenever I spray it at my wife, she does not like anything rose, like at all.
Oh,
So
really?
oh, nothing rose at all.
Okay.
And so I sprayed it. She goes, "Oh, is that the new rose?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not getting just this over amount of rose in the opening. You should at least smell it and see what you think." She goes, "Okay." So she smelled it and she goes like, "Wow, that's not what I thought it was going to be at all." And I was like, "Let me go get something. I want to see if you get this, or maybe I'm just crazy."
Hmm.
So I went and got my Royale X, and she was like, "Whoa, okay." There is a similarity, like similar style, different fragrance, but I can get the body of it. And so,
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm curious now. And obviously it was corroborated by your wife.
mhm. So
Let's
this is a
see.
question for you. I've read where people have wrote that Second Soul has a dark barbershop vibe. Would you agree with that? I actually like the sound of that. I watched your review, by the way, just curious.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. It is a dark barbershop vibe.
Mhm,
There's a cleanliness to it for sure.
mhm,
There is a bit of this freshness. I wouldn't call it bright, but I would
mhm,
call it fresh, clean, but tobacco, smokiness, some rum. There is a dark kind of ambery resinous feel that really envelops the freshness and kind of takes it over as it dries down and as that
mhm.
freshness disappears. So yeah, definitely a darker barbershop feel.
Yeah. And just to kind of go off of that, Zach, whenever I went over to Nick's house, he was like, "Man, I'm almost getting this barbershop kind of vibe to it." And I've never put that together really until he said that, because I get a lot of the, kind of darker elements like the tobacco and woods and stuff, but I do get that freshness. But whenever
Hmm.
you said that, I was kind of like, now that you say that, I'm getting some sort of creamy, soapy lavender, in the background,
Hmm.
just kind of playing off of that. And so now that he said that, I was like, okay, I can definitely see that. And it kind of seems to be a similar experience. So,
Yeah, yeah, and through all of that, the original DNA of
mhm,
Brass and Soul is still very much the core. The funny
absolutely.
thing is that at least in my experience, Second Soul is more of a barbershop fragrance than
Mhm,
Brass and Soul is.
mhm,
So, but it's still somehow tied to Brass and Soul. So this is not my magic. This is Vincent Kuczynski, who is my
mhm.
perfumer, who just did a stunning job with both fragrances.
Yeah, no, he really did. On that brass and soul, definitely, like you said, the DNA is there, but kind of goes in its own direction. But what I got a lot of, and I've actually messaged you about this, is it's the second soul has deepened quite a bit. There's a depth as it's macerated, and
Yeah.
whereas the brass and soul has almost it's macerated, but in a different way. I get a lot more of that juniper up top, that juniper,
Mm.
and it's way more juniper heavy, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, um, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I had two honorable mentions. I didn't know how many you have, if you have any honorable mentions or
I
not.
do have two
Okay,
actually as
okay,
well. I have to. It's me in a bottle. So
yeah,
I don't. You spoke about it. I don't need to speak about it. But this is my, I guess, personal bottle. Den is
mm,
nowhere near like yours because I have to try to keep myself away from it because otherwise I'd wear it every day.
yeah,
And then honestly, my second honorable mention is my boy Ross's
yeah,
Evening Mystique.
yeah,
This stuff is so unique.
mm,
It is so different. I do believe it is the most unique of the three in the new Z Creators lineup. And it beautifully takes the original Business Over Pleasure in a very cohesive direction and in a very clear direction. It's still in there. There's still a clean, irisy, spicy kind of freshness, but it's just more mysterious. Like literally the name is perfect. It's kind of smoky. It's more resinous, darker, a little bit more broad, just kind of a wider scent profile, less transparent, a little bit more dense, and
Yes,
just really well done. Claude Deer just killed it with both. And
man.
yeah, so I think if you guys haven't checked out even Mystique, I know we've been talking about Second Soul, but if you have not checked this out, I don't think you've smelled anything quite like this.
Yeah.
So I recommend it.
No, I agree. It's and with all of the Zed creators, really, Evening Mystique out of the most, I think, has what I want, how I want to word this, because it wasn't bad at first. It really wasn't, but it's smoothed out, I think,
Mm,
over the past year or so. I'm getting a lot more of that creaminess from the iris versus there was a lot of carrot seed that came up off of my
yeah.
skin. It kind of gave it
Okay.
this dirty, earthy vibe with that iris. It almost kind of seemed not misplaced, but it's like, okay, they're almost fighting for each other.
Mm,
But as it's, macerated, it's really smoothed out and it's become a really great fragrance, especially for like the fall. Man,
yeah.
it just punches through that cold. So
That's
awesome.
perfect
Well,
for that.
thank you, John. This is my friend John, and two of my favorite YouTubers talking about one of my favorite fragrances. Love you guys, and Jesus does too. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate the support, buddy. Really means a lot. So, all right. Well, moving forward, do you want to go with yours first, or you want me to go with mine?
Well, you your choice. You're the
Okay.
host. Whatever flow you want to have, I will go along with.
Okay. How many do you have? Not that there has to be a set number, but
I have 5
okay.
apart
I have
from the 2 I just talked about. So
We have the same amount, so that's
yeah.
good. Okay. I wasn't sure if I said 4 or 5 in our original message, so awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and start, and if we have some overlap, that's okay. It just really
Yeah,
speaks to the greatness of the fragrance. So,
for sure.
kind of taking the safe route, maybe, but I got to go with the original. It is, and I try not to throw this word around lightly, but it is a masterpiece in my opinion. It is.
Mm,
It takes a gentleman's fragrance. It takes something from, your dad or your granddad, would have wore back in the day, but then modernizes it with, the pear note that's in there and the sweetness. And, you get the almost not quite a Middle Eastern vibe, but almost with the frankincense and myrrh and the
yeah.
oud.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, it is just such an original masterpiece. Like nothing quite smells like it, and it, at best, the reason why I think I have a connection with it is I've told George this several times is my grandfather back in the 90s. I can't remember the name of it, but there was an aftershave that had a similar embodiment, if you will, at best. That's, the best thing that I
Mm,
could attribute it to that had some sort of creamy lavender with, maybe a dark woody undertone or something that he would wear to work every day. And
mm,
whenever he would get ready, I would smell that. And so it doesn't smell the exact same. It just kind of has a similar presence to it. And I've never smelled it since until this bad boy right here. And so for me, this is a must have. This is something that I will always have in my collection. In fact, this is my second bottle. I went through at 60 ml and I went
wow.
for the bigger bottle. So
Awesome.
it just really attests to the greatness of that fragrance, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I totally agree with you. I don't think there's a single barbershop scent that smells like that does. It really has carved its own lane in the genre, with its complexity, but still paying homage to the genre. And
Mhm.
honestly, that was almost my number 5. It was a real hard toss up between the original and my number 5,
Mhm.
which I guess I can go into now. And this one, it kind of crept up on me because when I
Mhm.
first smelled it, when it came out, I liked it,
Mhm.
but it just maybe it needed some time. For whatever reason, it didn't really speak to me. It's not like I could pinpoint something about it I disliked. I'm just like, it just doesn't really move anything. But now, I don't know what it is. Signature Royale.
Yes.
And Signature Royale is kind of an unsung hero. I think maybe
Mhm.
next to Noir these days.
Mhm.
But it's beautiful. It's like clearly tied to the original. It, the color of this perfectly represents the scent. It's a brighter, sunnier take, I guess, on the DNA. I get this. It's just happy. Happiness is how I would describe this scent. There's like a fresh, almost cottony texture. It's almost like a fluffiness to the scent. I can't even explain it, but I know there's magnolia, which I think can maybe contribute to that. And there's a nice apple note that sets it apart a little bit. I think replaces that pear. And it's beautiful. It still has a gentlemanly cleanliness, but it's just a little bit more uplifting, not like fresher, not like, it's more citrusy or anything. It's just, I don't know. I see this color. Maybe it's influencing me, but when I wear it and smell it, I'm just like, yeah, it just embodies a joyful quality.
Yeah, man. It's definitely on my list. So we'll see that here in just a little bit. But I like that you mentioned the apple note, because the apple note has always just it's either my skin chemistry or I'm not sure, but it just has always made itself very, very present off of my skin. And so I get a lot of the apple, and I get that creamy sandalwood that just
totally.
Oh man, it smooths everything out. So wanted to shout out some people real quick. We got On Average Joe in the house. Thank you, man, for joining.
Hey,
we got Greta Beth, a couple other people coming in. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Good to see you all.
So, and I guess I should have made a caveat. It sounds like you've kind of numbered these, from least favorite to favorite, or just your personal favorite 5.
They are ranked loosely,
Okay.
but if you ask me to rank them again in a month, it might look different.
Okay.
So for now, this is what it is.
Okay, gotcha. I took that approach very, very, very loosely because, so people, sometimes when this one's his favorite, this one's my favorite, and it's a loose, top 5 of rank, but these are my top 5 in the house. So okay, well, moving forward, I would say my next favorite, and it's not that it's not good enough to be higher up. It's just, it is a bit more, I don't want to say challenging, but I think you'll see what I'm talking about whenever I bring it up. But for me is Royale X.
You've worn the heck out of that thing, man.
It could be my spray routine. I don't know, but I really have a hard time. And I texted George this the other day. I was like, I actually don't think there's been a week that's gone by since I've got a Zaharoff fragrance that I haven't wore something Zaharoff. It is,
wow.
I mean, it's up there. I don't know if I could ever have a top, but it's in the ranking with my favorite house ever. Like, I just absolutely love the fragrances. But this actually has my favorite opening to any Zaharoff fragrance. That clementine citrus in the opening, it is absolutely amazing. It just, like you feel about Royale, it makes me happy. It puts me in a good mood. Yes. It is one of my go-to spring fragrances. And for me, I love the opening so much. But reason why it's not, maybe even higher is it is a bit of a musky fragrance that it takes some getting used to for most people to get on board with.
Sure.
And even myself, whenever I first smelled it, I was like, okay, really love the opening. That mid, I don't know if I'm being honest.
That's okay.
I was like, I don't know how I felt about this whenever I first got it. I was like, I like it, but it's a bit unique. It's a bit strange, that very musky undertone. I was just like, But the more I wore it, the more I appreciated it. And that's, as you can tell, the dent, it doesn't lie. I absolutely love this fragrance.
Man, great choice.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice. Mm-hmm. So my number 4, to be honest, it's not one I've worn a ton. I think it came out, I don't know if it's been a year yet since this thing came out, but I remember when I first smelled it, I was like, oh, this is a lot. Mm-hmm. You might even know what I'm talking about now. So I kind of got away from it. I took some time away, and then I actually started wearing it, and I'm like, oh, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
This is fantastic. I just have to be careful in terms of how much, but It's leather tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you know, this is again another fantastic example of, you know, it's a flanker of a flanker at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's a perfect branch on the tree. It's
Yeah.
like clearly tied to tobacco, but obviously tobacco is tied to the original as well, and it just has this slight removing, but it's still, you know, a Zaharoff,
Mm-hmm.
and it is, you know, it's the edgiest, I think, edgiest fragrance he has on the
Yes.
market thus far. That birch tar makes it so smoky. You got resins in there, obviously the tobacco and leather. You know, not overly animalic. It's just strong,
Yeah.
and it envelops, and it has a darkness to it that is kind of bad boy, but still kind of sophisticated at the same time. So
Yeah.
I dig it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, no, it really is. It was really funny. So, George had sent it to me last year, and I don't know if you've experienced this with George or not, but every once in a while, with like a more challenging release, he'll message me. He was like, "I don't know, Tyler. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know if this is going to do well. I don't know how people are going to receive it, you know." And so I showed him the picture that I got it, and like not even 2 seconds later, he calls me. He was like, "Okay, what do you think? How is it? What do you think?" I was like, "Well, I haven't sprayed it yet, so give me a second." But
Wow.
yeah,
Yes, I've totally experienced that with George. It's fantastic.
yeah, he's a funny guy, and he loves his stuff, and he loves his his fragrance family, you know, as he calls them and stuff. So
Yes.
he wants to make a good impression. But for me, whenever I first sprayed it, it was that kind of punch you in the face, bad boy. Wow, this is something a little bit more not outlandish, but just way over the top with performance. I was like, I don't know if I can actually wear this in public, not because it smells bad, but I'm afraid that people, you know, 5 blocks down the street are gonna smell me. But
Yes.
in the cold, it is a go-to of mine. It didn't make my list, but I love wearing it for those really brisk cold days where you're like, man, what could I even wear? And so I like to reach for that
Mm.
one. It kind of gives you this. I don't know if you experience this or not, but I get pictures in my head whenever I spray a fragrance, and it makes me think of a log cabin in the mountains somewhere, and there's a warm burning fire just kind of going, and there's a leather couch kind of back to it, and that leather is heating up and causing that, you know, that leather smell to permeate through the log cabin. And that's just
Yeah.
kind of the vibe that I get with it, and it's beautiful,
I
absolutely
could
beautiful.
totally see that for sure. That's well said.
Yeah.
Very good.
So now we're in the top three, and this is where I really use the term top very loosely, because you could ask me, like you said, a month later, it'll change. You can sometimes ask me a week later, and it'll change. There's season, mood, you know what I mean? It just, but if I had to go with my top three, I would absolutely have to go with the original Rosé. It is, you know, the dent not super big in this one like most, but that's because honestly, you don't need a lot with it. You know,
No.
I find myself not really needing to do more than like 3 sprays. It's just it's a very powerful, strong fragrance that makes its presence known, but it's not going to be overbearing. And so, but
Yes.
for me, it was a gateway fragrance into rose, because for years I had tried to like rose fragrances. I tried Lyric Man from Amouage, a great rose fragrance. Love it now. But when I first got it, I was like, this is way too feminine. This is way too, you know, jammy old lady. I can't do it. Just,
Hmm.
you know, can't do it. And then my cousin, he's also into fragrances. He had got my grandmother, it was the Le Labo Rose 27 or 31 or whatever their
Mm-hmm.
number board is. And it was good. It was good. But I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But whenever he sent me Rose, he actually sent me a little sample first before I bought it. And he was like, let me know. It's a rose fragrance. You know, it's going to be different maybe than anything you smelled. And so I tried it, and I was like, whoa, this is immaculate. This is something that I told him right away. It's like a juicy rose fragrance. And like, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but there's
Mm-hmm.
this juicy quality to it that it's never gone away. And I absolutely love it. I've gotten so many compliments with this fragrance, so many compliments. And for a rose dominant fragrance, that to me speaks volumes of the fragrance. I actually have a funny story with that. I won't go too long, but I was, long story short, going to get a cup of coffee at a local coffee shop, and I was walking down the sidewalk as I had already got my coffee, and a lady was walking past me to go get hers, and I was probably 20-30 steps down the way, and all of a sudden I hear like someone running. I was like, what in the world? And so this lady's running after me. I was like, oh gosh, what's going on? You know, she needs help or something. And I was like, oh, what's going on? She was like, what fragrance are you wearing? Is that you? I was like, I think so. And she kind of like leans in, totally had no personal space bubble at all. Yes. Just like leans in. I was like, okay. She goes, that is the most amazing fragrance I've ever smelled. Like, what is that? Like, where did you get that? And so right there, then on the spot on the sidewalk, I led her to the Zaharoff website, and she purchased a bottle. So,
hey, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's always a good time when that happens.
What more can you say to that? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to chase somebody down, people, like, use your voice. Don't just run up on them. Like, excuse me, hey, like, don't just let them hear footsteps, because the wrong person.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrong person, right time. You know what I mean? So,
yes. Totally.
Yeah. Especially here in the Midwest, where it is a protective state. I'll say that. You know, I don't want you to ban anything. So
I get it. Okay, yeah. So once again, these are all variable, but number 3 for today is Tabac, the OG. And the funny thing is, George gave me a Tabac body wash and lotion. Just I was visiting him in Chicago, and he's like, here, take these. And I'm like, oh, and I don't know if he actually marketed them and people could buy them. I'm not sure, but I used those up because they were just amazing. And it's exactly like Tabac. I was bathing in Tabac and moisturizing with Tabac, you know, every day for a period of time. Honestly, to the point where I got sick of Tabac. Man, I couldn't wear it for a while. Right. Because I'm like, it's exactly Tabac. I feel like I've been wearing it like every single day for like 3 months. So I had to get away from it for like 6 months, until like this fall came around, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to come back. And, you know, there's some beautiful elements in it. There's like a honey note, and you have the tobacco as well. To me, it smells kind of edible. I've always said that. It has this like bready, this sweet bready feel to it, like a banana bread or something. It's lovely. Lovely. Great for the fall, especially. You know, leather Tabac is a great winter scent. This is perfect fall vibes, day or night. Definitely a little cozy, but has, you know, a little bit of an upscale feel. You could, you know, wear it in all black on a night out or something, and it still smells like alluring, but, you know, not too boyish or anything like that. So it's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. I had rewatched for some reason, because I know I'd watched it before, but I don't think I finished it. But your friend that when you did the regular Tabac, you guys had tested it out for the first day or whatnot, and you had I think he or you, I forgot which one, had mentioned that banana bread, and I never got that picture before. And then when you said that, I was like, holy smokes, yeah, I get that banana bread, and it's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, guys, don't get this wrong. It's not just like spraying banana bread on your skin. It just, there's a small tie in there. You can kind of frame the way you're smelling it, and it's like, yeah, it smells kind of edible, and it's just even more delicious.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, my number 2 is, let me get this here, is Tabac. So,
well, there you go.
A little bit there, but this is my second bottle. I've already went through a bottle. I absolutely love this. I've said this before in many reviews. This is my all-time favorite tobacco fragrance, and that's not something I say lightly. I absolutely love this stuff. The blonde tobacco in here with that honey, and you get this creamy vanilla in here. But it's not a tobacco fragrance that to me is cloying or annoying or too sweet. Sometimes you get like, don't get me wrong, it's a great fragrance, but like tobacco vanille or something, like that with that Tom Ford kind of DNA. It's very just in your face the whole day, and it's just here to stay. This has that same element, but I don't know if there's a good word to use, but it's almost like wispy, like smoky. It just kind of like has like a scent trail behind it. And so I love this because it's got that tobacco with the sweetness without being too much. So
totally. Yeah, I think what am I gonna say? Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Never mind. But I agree with everything you said. Yeah, it's so lovely. Such an easy wear. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, tobacco can have ashy, smoky qualities to it, especially tobacco vanille. That's pretty ashy. No ash here. It's so well blended. It's just, it's like they wrap the whole scent in a tobacco leaf.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And it's like you can smell through the tobacco. It's not purely in your face.
Right.
Okay. Number 2. Royale X.
Yeah.
And I understand why some people may not really enjoy this, because it is very musky. And George had a very clear inspiration with this fragrance, and it comes through. But just the G-rated version, I would just say, is that it's clean and dirty at the same time.
Right.
And it perfectly is that balance. It is like clean citrus, like a clean musk, but also this kind of like not dirty, but like almost funky, almost slightly musty.
Yes.
Natural musty quality that is so subtle. I know that does not sound good to anyone who hasn't smelled this, but trust me, this stuff, this is one that I've gotten several compliments on as well. I remember the last time I did, I was in a grocery store and I approached the cashier, and as soon as, I guess, she was like in her automatic mode of like what she says to approaching customers. So she was just about to say, like, would you like a bag? And she's like, would you like a bag? Wait a minute. What is your cologne? And I was like, oh, it's a weird name, but it's called Signature Royale X. And she's like, I'm not going to remember that, but that is incredible. I was like, great. Job well done. Yeah, I mean, you described it perfectly. Like, it's an easy fragrance to wear. It is kind of signature scent worthy, but it's a vibe. It's not your standard freshie. It is a bit of a vibe.
It is. Funny enough, I won't go too long, but I have another story. I don't know if it's just skin chemistry, personality, or whatnot, but Royale X has been another fragrance where someone has smelled it and they bought it right on the spot. She bought it for her husband. I wore it into a restaurant, and it had been on for, I got to say, probably 5 hours or so. And I was anosmic to it, didn't smell it. And I guess the wind blew or something the right way. I don't know, but she smelled it from across the counter, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? That's so unique and so different. What, like, is that a cologne aftershave?" I was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's a cologne." And she goes, "Man, I got to get that for my husband. How much is that?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I can show you to the website." And so, anyways, she bought it right there on the spot for her husband. So,
man, you have just been the real world liaison for Zaharoff fragrances.
I know. I told George, I was like, "Man, I'm gonna have to start getting a commission or something for sending people your way." So,
yeah, seriously, yeah, man, you're just a walking advertisement. It's great.
It could be skin chemistry. I don't know. Speaking of that, I kind of wanted to address this. I don't know if you've ever had something similar. So this is John. He says that he kind of gets like a rubber latex glove vibe from tobacco. I don't know. Could that be skin chemistry or the type of tobacco, or I don't know. Like, I've never came across that. The The only thing I could say is sometimes with tobacco, to me, it can almost come off like root beer like, and I don't know if it's the type of tobacco or the tobacco and vanilla, but rubber latex, that sounds skin chemistry.
Yes, that definitely does sound like skin chemistry. Bad bottles are not something you get from Zaharoff. You know, the quality, if you could see how George does things behind the scenes, the quality is top notch. So it might be a skin thing. John, your name is John? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was John. Yeah, it was
John.
probably 27.9.
John, I don't know if you've tried to smell it from paper, from a tester strip, because I would be curious to see if you smell the same thing from a tester strip, in which case now we're looking at a different situation. Either maybe it is the fragrance somehow, some way, or maybe it's your nose. You know, not all noses smell the same. You know, especially if you have like a strong association to rubber latex gloves. I don't know if that's something you've used a lot of in your life or use on a daily basis or something, but association is also huge. It can completely change a scent based on how you perceive it. So I don't know. I'm just shooting in the dark. But first thing I would start with, if we're going to troubleshoot, if you have access to the fragrance, is to put it on a tester strip and see if it gives you the same thing.
Nice. Good advice. Good advice. Shout out to Gerard.
What's up, Gerard?
He's really killing the game. He just got over 10K not too long ago. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah, man, it is. It's good to see.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's especially, you know, and we won't go into rabbit trail, but just a little side note, especially with YouTube nowadays, you know, 5 years ago, you know, I could easily say that, you know, it wasn't too saturated, and it's still probably not, but there are quite a few YouTube channels dedicated to fragrances now. And so to get some sort of traction is really saying something. So congrats on that.
Yes, you're exactly right. And yeah, this is another rabbit hole, but just to briefly speak on that, yeah, I can attest to that. You know, when I started watching videos on a regular basis, that was like 2016, which was the year I started my channel. And I want to say at that time, there was no more than like 30, what I would call regular creators. And that is people who are creating content at least on a weekly basis, maybe 30. And it was so small. And if someone had 5K, it's like, oh man. And then of course you had Jeremy. I remember when Jeremy was at like 14K, if you can believe that. And I was like, wow, big channel, like massive. And now, I mean, to go from like, again, I'm estimating roughly 30 regular creators to thousands, I would imagine, in a very short period of time, it has exploded. And so, yes, coming in new or relatively new, it's a different landscape. It's a different ball game. So, yeah, totally commend those who are growing these days.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a testament to dedication. And, you know, I posted on Instagram not too long ago, you know, just daily content, you know, because I've done this since 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. And maybe at the end of 2019 anyways, and, you know, still under 3K, and it's okay. It's not about, you know, numbers or anything like that, but massive difference in, you know, posting when you can to making an attempt to post every day. I mean, you know, in the past 22 days or 23, 22, somewhere in their days, I've done it in a row, you know, almost 20,000 views, got up 115 subscribers, you know, just keeping that grind, you know. So
yeah, man. I mean, it shows itself when you do that work. It does pay off, but yeah, I know it's a grind. It's a total grind, but it starts to grow exponentially as you go. So you're not getting 1 unit of result for 1 unit of effort every time. It'll start to change the ratio.
Yeah. Well, man, so we're down to the last one, the loose number 1. But for some of my subscribers, I know Jerry's in here. Shout out to Jerry and a couple other guys. I've talked about this and read about this one nonstop. And it's funny. You would think the dent would be bigger in this one, but I actually think it's because I smell it every day. And so since I smell it every day, I don't want to wear it every day. But my loose number one is going to be Royale, the original Royale. I absolutely love this one. It's like you said, it's a happy fragrance. It's got this creamy sandalwood. It's got the apple in there. It's got that original DNA. In my opinion, this is the closest to the original in just pure smell, but it's brighter, it's lighter. And I don't know, I messaged you several months ago about your original Pour Homme to see if it had gotten a little bit more oud-like and heavy, because mine has. But my Royale, it's still kind of stayed light, and it's got that, that creamy factor to it. And it's just, to me, a tad bit more wearable. Not that Pour Homme isn't wearable, but the Royale for me is just a little bit more of that sweet spot. So
well said. Yeah, man. Honestly, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I thought you had said like I need to get it. I don't know. You said something that maybe I misheard you earlier when I was talking about it that made me think like you didn't have it, but damn, there it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh no. Like I said I might get to it or something like that. That like
okay.
Later on down the list. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally. That's funny. That's great though.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's a fragrance that I don't know if you guys can see this with the camera or not, but I've picked it up so much that the cap is starting to wear out. Just picking up.
Yes.
It's a fragrance that for some reason it's a motivational fragrance for me. It puts me in a state of mind of like serious business. Like, hey, it's time to get motivated in life. And so it's a very special fragrance to me because I wore it whenever I became a manager at AT&T. I wore it the first day I started my own business. It's one of those fragrances that has a special, for me, personal place. Like Pour Homme is special because it reminds me of my grandpa. Royale reminds me of me. You know what I mean? And so
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's good. Good to have that empowering kind of scent, especially with one with good memories tied to it.
Yeah.
Well, my last one is not anything new. It's rosé.
Yeah.
Currently, this is, again, aside from my own fragrances, which are just different, in terms of Zaharoff's native releases, this is, I think it's still my favorite one. It's, the first time I got this bottle, I wore it to Chicago. In fact, I'm trying to remember why. I was going to Chicago to see George and Ross. It may have been for our first Z Creators, one of our first Z Creators meetings that we all met in Chicago. So I wore it to fly out that day, not realizing how warm it was in Chicago versus where I was in Portland. I don't remember what time. This was maybe like late spring, and it was just much warmer than I expected. So I remember getting off the plane. It had been like 7 hours since I put it on, and it was like 85 degrees in Chicago. And I remember stepping out. I'm like, oh no. I was like, I don't know if rosé is going to be good for this. And I remember meeting, and George picked me up with Ross, and I get in the car, and both of them are like, oh my gosh, dude, what are you wearing? I'm like, rosé. What? And they're like, it smells like chocolate. And I'm like, you're right. For some reason, the heat, and I don't know if I would really try this again, but it seemed to be okay. The heat kind of made it chocolatey. Like maybe there's some patchouli. I don't remember what's in here. Maybe it was like the oud vanilla combo or something. Gave it a chocolate feel. But it's a different animal, of course. When you wear it in climate control or any other time, it's like its true self. It's rose and incense, kind of wispy, cooling, smoky, juicy. I would definitely say as well. I would agree with you there. But yeah, in that heat, I got a different animal out of it. It was like a chocolatey rose scent. That was actually really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'll have to look for that chocolate nuance. That's really funny because right before you talked about that, Jared actually he had said that it was the first Zed creators meeting, and then he wanted to get your thoughts on the almost chocolate nuance. So that's funny you brought that up just naturally, and that was his question.
Awesome. Well, good to see you,
Jared. You know, I can maybe kind of sort of see that a little bit. I'd have to wear it and like really look for it, but there is a bit of a, how do I want to word it? Like there's a sweetness there that's obviously this from like the sugar cane or something like that, but it's a type of like milky kind of sweetness that maybe you could get from like a milk chocolate or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think that again, in the context I was wearing it, it had been on my skin for some time. It was into the deep dry down, and then it got heated up. So first spray, I don't really quite get it, especially on paper. No. But as it dries into the, the darker base, I think that's when the potential's really there. I don't know if it's really that absolute, but that's what I had when I did.
Yeah. No, that's good. And maybe heat can do it too, because Jared's saying he experienced it in the summer. Heat can do something, with your skin. So so now that we've wrapped that up, were there any that were kind of hard, like, oh man, do I pick this one or do I pick this one? Or were there any that almost made the list that you're like, oh man, it was this close?
Yeah. As I said at the beginning, the Pour Homme original almost made the list. It was that close. I was also, let's see, I think I was, the Noir is another one that I revisited, and I'm like, you know what? I like this more than I did before. I haven't really worn it in a couple years, so honestly, I was like, I don't feel right putting it in this list. But even just picking up and sniffing it here and there over the past few months, I'm like, you know what? I need to come back to Noir. So Noir has my interest again. And I mean, maybe it would have been an honorable mention, but like the Siren, of course, is just that thing is its own. It's a phenomenon. It's a great scent.
It is. I almost chose that one too, but it's like if I gotta have a couple honorable mentions, then I definitely want to go for Second Soul, because the dent don't lie. And for me, upon first wearing an initial spray, just the black rose, having two of my favorites already kind of somewhat of a similar vibe between what I would say the Royale X and then the Rose. But hey, there we go. We got the man himself, Mr.
George. Good to see you, my friend.
How's it going, George? One that was really, really hard for me to not put in, and I think it's just, there was two actually, and I mean, I could get them now, but I have a bottle of citrine that's over halfway gone. I love that one because it's an environment kind of fragrance. It gets really, really hot and humid where I'm at here in Southern Missouri. And it just really, really works. And
it is perfect to overspray.
Yes.
I think of it. Oh, George. He's told me that before. The citrine, I don't know if you've ever smelled Hermes, like Eau d'Orange Vert, It doesn't smell like that, but that's the vibe. It's very light, very cooling, fresh. You can just apply liberally out on a hot day, and it just sings in the heat. It's perfect for that.
It does. Another one that almost made the list, and I put a good size dent into it, was Coco Loco. It's just a fun
stuff. Yeah.
It's so fun. Absolutely a pleasure to wear. And it's one of those ones that you can overspray that one as well. And, some people say they get different things. I get this almost beautiful, like bowl of fruity pebbles,
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And it's just a fun fragrance. I love it. We got Stacks in the house. What's up, Stacks? But yeah, so those were two that almost made it. And it's just, I don't know. Citrine is so good that I wear it because one, it smells good, but two, it's, good for the high heat. But these ones that I picked, they resonate with me on a more personal, level. And I can find myself in those fragrances more than the others, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Coco Loco in particular is one that as soon as George sent it over, my wife just hawked in on it. And so she like a hawk came down and it became kind of her scent. Not that it's hers and I can't wear it, but
Mm,
she just started wearing it so much, like
mm,
every single day, to the
mm,
point where I associate it with her now. I'm like, you know what? Like I love the scent of it. And maybe yeah, I'll wear it here and there, but it just works with her. So I kind
mhm.
of like leave that in her realm, and she just loves it for the summer.
Yeah, it's definitely a go-to, and it's just like I said, it's just a fun, playful fragrance, and a lot of fragrances that George has. I don't want to categorize, a gender, on a fragrance, but some would say they lean more, in the masculine, vibe. But you get rosé, you get citrine and coco loco, those kinds. Those are for everybody. Those anybody can wear, and they're just
Yes.
great. So
Totally. Gosh, rose, so good.
it
Man.
is, man, and it's one even from the cap that just you can. I'm literally holding it, several inches away, and I can smell it. It's just the sillage, the projection, the performance, everything just checks the boxes, man.
Yep. And it's just unbeatably unique. As far as
Mm,
rose fragrances go, I haven't smelled anything quite like rose. And it's so cool to see Black Rose as a whole different beast, and because I think George had said his initial intention with Black Rose was to kind of make it a flanker
mhm,
of Rosé. And I think they went ahead and did that. Claude made a rendition of it. And I think it was like too safe for something.
mm,
It just, for whatever reason, it just was not the full vision. So they kind of started from scratch
mm.
and got this monster. Obviously, utilizing the magic of the original Pour Homme, but as far as a rose fragrance goes, I can't wait to get to know it better. I feel like I don't quite know it yet. So I look forward to just wearing it more and getting more acquainted with it.
Yeah. It looks like George dropped some news. It looks like everything, if a man wants a feminine this spring, there's a jasmine incense. So that's awesome. That's
Oh,
that's really cool.
news to
So,
me. News to me. I am interested.
well, that makes me extremely happy because I don't, George, I mean, we talk pretty often. I don't know if he remembers this or not, but jasmine is one of my all-time favorite notes. I absolutely
Really?
I love jasmine. It's such a peaceful note. It's just
Hmm.
it puts me in a calming state of mind. I have a couple of fragrances that are jasmine dominant, and I wear them to go to bed in because it relaxes me. And so I don't know if you've smelled it or not, but Fox in the Flower Bed from Imaginary Authors.
Mm-mm.
Um, it's a very floral, very feminine, most would say feminine fragrance, but it's jasmine dominant. And I absolutely love it. It's just an amazing jasmine bomb that, man,
Hmm.
it just relaxes you. So this is some, hey, exclusive news, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, guys, look out this spring, and that'll be around the corner.
Yeah, no,
That's
George,
wonderful.
you can never crash a live
No,
George. You're
George,
always
this is your party, George.
yeah.
You can't crash your own party, my friend. This is
We're
all about you.
we're literally talking about your creations, George. So, um,
Totally.
well, awesome, man. We went through the list. We got 34 people still watching. We can kind of wrap it up now if you want, or I don't want to take too much of your time, or if you want to continue, we can do that as well. But I'll kind of, if you want.
I like to end a stream with some intentional questions. If anyone has questions, I got a few minutes. I'm actually just really hungry and need to make some dinner before my wife gets home.
Yeah,
But I would be happy to take a few minutes if anyone has any
yeah,
deep burning questions for me, not just me, of course, obviously for Tyler as well.
yeah, yeah, guys. So this is your chance. You got Justin in the room giving permission for questions. So if you guys have any questions for Justin or for myself, guys feel free. So looks like George is leaving for the night. Much love to you, George. Just wanted to say, got the black rose, George. I don't know how long you've been here. Thank you so much. It is just it's awesome. So review coming soon. Let's see.
Oh,
hey, second bottle. The last bottle sold during this live.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
okay. Well, there we are. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming. George had let me know we were running pretty low, and there it was.
There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, guys, if he didn't get it, I'm sorry.
Don't lie, guys.
At this point, anytime if you see it, it's technically a tease. But that was it. And those of you who did even try it, thank you so much for just giving me a chance. You know, again, it's me in a bottle. George really let me in on what it means, what it's like to bring an original creation to market, especially one from the heart. And it's like one of the most vulnerable things you can do. George has a fantastic way of explaining it, and I'll try to do so in a more polite way. And that is, it's like basically putting your bare butt on display and having people critique it, which is amazing. George said, "I'll say it." Go for it, George. I was trying to be polite and proper, but the way George says it is the best. But yeah, I mean, to get that experience firsthand, starting with Brass and Soul, like I was like, "Oh, George, how do you do this? Like, this is scary. Like, my goodness." But it's really cool, and especially when you see the response and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I love what you did." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they like it. Wow." And then Second Soul, I felt like I was so confident about that. I was like, people maybe didn't care for, but I didn't hear anyone say like, it doesn't smell good. But no matter what anyone said, I just knew it was me. Like, this fragrance is me. It's Stay Fresh Productions in a bottle. And it was just such a great collaboration. And anyway, I don't want to go off on that, but I feel really, really thankful for the opportunity. And again, to those of you who tried it or bought it and enjoyed it, and I get your messages, I see your comments, I really appreciate it.
So we had this question a couple of times, so I just picked this one. So they want to know if there will be a third Zed Creators, and as far as I know, I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't think there's any plans of it, but I don't know. Maybe down the line, I don't know.
You're exactly right, Tyler. There are no plans for a third round. So that's going to be up to the man himself. Okay.
So this is George. This is George's comment. Let me get to it. I just passed it. So this is him talking about the fragrance. So everyone's going to be a critic. So
yes, for sure. Exactly. Thank you, George. That's how it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions, I don't think. A lot of people are saying congratulations to you guys. Congrats on that, man. That's awesome to be sold out of 2 fragrances that you personally, helped create. And, that's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you, man. Again, it's not an achievement I made, so to speak. Like, I mean, it's a group effort. There's so many moving parts. Obviously, the people who supported my channel to get, a platform to speak from is, there would be no fragrances without that. So, and then of course, George, just believing in not only me, but Ross and Andrea, and just giving us a chance to see what it's like, and, teaching us what it looks like behind the scenes. Because people can say what they want. They can assume what they want of what it's like to bring a fragrance to market, what it's like to make it strong and make it last long. And guys, there's so much. There is so much. There's so much. I wish I could say it's simple. It's not.
No, I can't imagine, man. And I don't want to keep you too long. It doesn't look like there's too many questions. But one thing that, I was talking with George, I don't know, sometime last summer about this. And, I think that at least for me, it really worked. And I think the intention of what the Z Creators was supposed to be really worked for me, because it gave someone who has a passion for fragrance a platform or an ability to create something that they wish to bring into the world, one. But two, it's someone that, I mean, we've had communication for several years, and nothing like, I wouldn't say like we're as close as like you and Ross or anything like that, but someone that I would consider someone I can talk to, friend. And seeing someone else being able to do that in the fragrance community was actually really awesome for me to see. Someone that, for me, I think I said this in my review of Second Soul, it was really special for me because you're the one that introduced me to Zaharoff, and now the person that introduced me to this brand is getting a chance to make something with that same brand. That was just really cool, actually, and so a lot of people, I think, unfortunately took it, oh, well, why not me? Or, how come it wasn't this? Or when's my turn? And, I think they missed the broad point of this whole thing was, hey, man, this is for the community. It's not just for a specific individual per se, but it's literally for the community. So it was
right. That's right. Yeah. George always called it his love letter to the community. It was purely to give back. It was not a get rich scheme. It was not a let's make these people super special over the others scheme. It was just all us all huddling together and giving, producing something that we hadn't seen before. And it was, limited, and it was exclusive and special, and then it kind of vanishes with the air. It's like it comes and goes. Great things do work like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, George, exactly. It's challenging, and you would know better than any of us, but yeah, you gave us a glimpse into just what it takes. And yeah, it's especially getting to work together. When I miss those times going to Chicago and, being up late smelling mods and or putting materials together, whatever it is. George was, anyway, I could go on and on. That's a whole different stream, but super thankful.
I'll ask one last question, because like I'm actually curious about this, and I've been curious about this because one of my goals in life at some point, not that anyways, would be to create a fragrance, and one of the most challenging things I would think would be choosing a mod. It's like, which one is going to be the one that I market as this is me in a bottle, this is Justin in a bottle. Like, how challenging was that, actually? I mean, I don't want to open the floodgates, but
it's a great question.
Yeah,
because that was one thing that I could not be prepared for. I don't think anyone can be prepared to choose what they like the most among things they like a lot, especially when it's something you created. It exists because of you, not just you. But so I'll try to answer it briefly. Brass and Soul was a pretty quick process for me. I think we did maybe 2 mods, and I got 3 different. I submitted my brief to my perfumer, like an artistic brief, kind of detailing the imagery, the sounds, the smells, painting a picture, telling a story of what I want the fragrance to represent. He sent me 3 interpretations of that brief, all using the same ingredients, but proportioned way differently. So I spent some time with each one of those 3, all so different from each other, but all technically Brass and Soul. I chose the one that I liked the most, which was the one that would eventually become Brass and Soul. But then there was something off about it. I'm like, there's something kind of fishy about it. And what I learned from my perfumer is like, you know what? I think I may have put too much Mandarin orange. Mandarin can get a little fishy. So he dialed it back. He made a couple of other tweaks. Again, maybe just like 2 tweaks. And then we had the final version. We just beefed up the concentration from like 15 to 22. Is that what we did? I feel like that we ended up at 22, and then that was it, and it was actually pretty quick. Now, Second Soul coming around to that was different because now I had experience in the process. I had experience with my discernment of like, how do I choose what I think is going to work? So Second Soul took like 7 or 8 mods. We tweaked a lot of things, and we even had to play with the concentration quite a bit to get not only the fragrance to perform, because concentration doesn't just affect performance. It affects the vibe. It affects how it diffuses. It affects what notes are more prominent than others. And yes, it can affect how long it lasts on the skin and how much it projects, but that's just the surface. So just to give you an example, for Second Soul, we beefed it up all the way to 25%.
Oh, wow.
Concentration. And so my perfumer sent me a 25 and a 24 of like the final mod after like 7 or 8. And I remember putting them on my hand side by side. After 3 hours, the 25 was gone, disappeared, like it was never there. The 24 was singing. So that just goes to show, you know, it's not like you just raise the number and then you raise the performance, right? There's a lot of nuances involved. Even, you know, Brass and Soul was 22% concentrated. That's no slouch, but it's different ingredients. It's a different composition. And on me, it performed like a 22%. If we're going to talk about that, it lasts 10 hours on me, honestly, and completely transforms. Whereas some people got barely 5 and it was just soap all the way through. You know, so we are the variable. And that's something that you can't really prepare for when you decide on the final version. You don't know, you know what it's like for you because you're the one smelling it, but then you put it out there and now you have to be aware of like, okay, I'm going to get all kind of different experiences now coming at me. And it was actually really cool because there's some that I didn't even see. You know, someone's like, oh yeah, I get this vibe. I'm like, I didn't even get that, but now I smell it. That kind of thing is really cool. So to answer your question, you know, it's kind of tough, but you have, you can't think about it too much. You have to go with the beautiful sense that we have, which is intuition. And where it's just like, how does it feel in the body without me thinking thoughts about what I think about it? Before that process can happen, what is my response? And Second Soul, in fact, I actually made a video that is not public on my channel. I actually made a Patreon a few years ago, which I don't use anymore. And I just put that video out to my patrons there. I've been thinking about making the video public because I documented my whole journey smelling all the mods. Every time I get a new mod, I turn on the camera, I'd smell it over the course of maybe 6 months or something. And you could see from the beginning, like, okay, yeah, it's kind of there, but it's a shell, it's missing something. And then the next one comes and I film a video until the final video where I'm like, this is it. This is the one. You know, so anyway.
That's awesome, man. No, I know me personally, I would love to see that. Just, you know, I'm a fragrance nerd. I mean, have all these fragrances. I love the science and everything behind it. But the thing that I connect with the most is what you're talking about of like, oh, this is it. This is me. This is, you know, the one. So if you want to, no pressure.
I'd be happy to share it with you. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Awesome. Well, man, questions I think have kind of come to a halt, and I know you said you got to get some dinner, and so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really, really appreciate this, man. You know, you absolutely have, you know, really nothing to gain from this, you know, with your platform coming to mind, and so that to me that really means a lot. So I really do appreciate that.
It's my pleasure, man. I've enjoyed interacting with you over the past few years, getting to know you more, watching you grow. You know, we have very great interaction in messages. You're always so kind and humble, and you ask great questions and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I care more about just like, again, the continuum. I just want to see people grow. So I want to continue to keep seeing you grow, man. So I'm happy to do it.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. you know, if I'm ever out that way, if you're ever out this way, man, maybe we can meet up sometime or whatnot. Because you're in Oregon, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So a little bit of a distance, but you know, if it ever happens, it'd be awesome. But
No reason why not.
yeah. So awesome, man. Well, thank you again so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your dinner. Enjoy spending time with your wife. Tell Grace I said hello, and man, you guys enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Will do. Thanks so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I'll kind of close this out. You can exit now if you want, or continue.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you, Tyler. We'll talk
Thank
soon.
you so much, Justin. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much to everyone that was on this. This was an awesome live. You know, like I've said before, Justin is, you know, the guy that introduced me to Zaharoff. So what a privilege it was to have him on here, and you know, just a very humble human being. George said it himself. Him and Grace are just amazing. Excuse me. Human. So guys, just thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you, George, for chiming in. You're always welcome. You can never crash alive, you know, on my channel. So always welcome. But you guys have a great night. Again, thank you again so much for you know, watching this. And for those of you who are watching back, let me know, guys, did you get your bottles of Black Rose? Very curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on it. And then before we end, for those who are watching again, leave a comment down below, guys. What are your top 5 Zaharoff? So really would like to see that. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to catch you on the next video, guys. Be sure to leave a comment. I'll catch you there. But you guys have a great night, and I'll catch you guys later. Much love.